Hey guys, it's Top 5 Wednesday. And sorry, I'm trying to adjust this. Okay, that's better. So anyway, it is Top 5 Wednesday, and Top 5 Wednesday is a Goodreads group originally created by Ginger Reed Slaney. And it is now being hosted by Sam from Thoughts on Tomes. Top 5 Wednesday is basically where you pick the top 5 things on whatever topic they give you. And obviously it's going to be book related topics. I should get into the habit of doing that introduction like before, because I know I don't normally do that. But it's probably more professional if I do that. So I'll try and remember to do that in my next one. This week's topic is books that I read because of Booktube, blogging, Goodreads, any other social networks that talks about books. In other words, for me, that would include Facebook as well, because I have friends who love to read, who are passionate about reading as much as I am, and I run the Book Corner, a Facebook group called the Book Corner, and I also run I started last month, I believe, or in the beginning of this month, I started a Big Books book club, which is basically what it says, reading big books, like books that are over 500 pages long. And I also created a group on Facebook that is connected to that is linked to that, because, well, it's just easier for me because I'm used to Facebook, and I'm still one of those people who enjoys being on Facebook. Well, join it's a little tricky for me. I wouldn't entirely say, I enjoyed it. I still enjoy it, but just sometimes Facebook there's things about Facebook that drive me crazy. And that's partly why I created this. I started filming videos, why I wanted to make videos, because my book group on Facebook, not the book club, but my little book group, the Book Corner, is just, I feel like their taste in books is like, it doesn't, maybe it's my fault, maybe I need to ask, maybe I just need to do like a series of questions and see what people like reading. But I feel like my best friend, I feel like she reads mostly romances, and she reads fantasy too, but just not as much fantasy as I do. And she reads comic books. But and then I have a friend Kathy, who I feel like she's like super critical of books. And she's very picky about what she reads. And the same thing with my best friend. So I just felt like being on Booktube would really help me expand my reading horizons. So anyway, let me get back to the Top 5 Wednesday. So the book here, I have the 5 books. Here I have 5 books that I read because of Booktube mostly. Actually, it's mostly, basically, I discovered these all through Booktube. Whether it was because I was just watching, all of these is because I was just watching, but some of these were before I even started making videos of my own. Okay, so the first one, and this is in no particular order my love for the books. This is more, it's kind of in an order of when I read it. Although on my document where I answer this, I probably would need to switch The Raven Boys and Six of Crows, because I read Six of Crows before The Raven Boys. But I'll get to that in a minute. So the first book, Booktube, is what started my love for Sarah J. Maas. People were constantly talking about Sarah J. Maas's books, and talking about how great they were, and and talking about their ships that they had from her series, and talking about their favorite characters, and dropping little hints here and there and spoiling a little bit, but to me it wasn't enough to take away the thrill of the book, of reading the books myself, just because I knew a little bit, because I didn't know certain details. I just heard these names and got little hints of what happens to these characters, but not anything too big. Nothing to spoil the fun for me and the thrill of reading the book. And one of the first ones was A Court of Thorns and Roses. I love this series, and like everybody else, my favorite one in the series is actually A Court in Mist and Fury. And I am, of course, in one of the Reese fangirls. I just love Reese. And I remember always people talking about how much they love Reese, and talking about and hinting at how the story, how Freya's relationship with him, and how they became a ship, instead it was no longer about Tamlin anymore. And I just had to read it. So I bought the book. I only got the hardback. The last two books I have in hardback because I have no patience. I was hooked in the story and I wanted to read. I wasn't gonna wait around for the paperback. Normally I do, but over the years, especially more so ever since I joined a Booktube, I've been more prone to get impatient, because I constantly am hearing about these stories and how great they were, and people talking about them and spoiling things that happen in the story, that I have to get the next book, and I don't like waiting. My problem, though, is that I physically cannot drive. My disabilities make driving something that is impossible for me to do. I did take it, and before anyone comments, I did take a test at a special medical school type facility, a special facility in I think it was in Baltimore, and I did actually physically drive, and the guy who was examining me was telling my parents that maybe someday I could drive, but right now it's just no, I can't do it. So because of that, I have to rely on public transportation or rely on my parents to take me to stores. The good news is that the library and the little used bookstore where I live now is a 10-minute walk, 10 to 20-minute walk. I can actually walk there. There's a gravel path and everything, and I don't have to walk on the highway, and that's part of the reason why we chose the location we did in this town, because it was the little village where the shopping is walkable for me. Of course, the only problem with that is this is a retirement community. It's a golfers community and a retirement community. So shopping wise is for a little bit older people. So older even than me, people that are older than their 20s. People that and it's a little pricey. But I am not a huge clothes shopping fan anyway. But, really the only stores that I actually like the only places I actually like in the village are the roast office, which is what the little bookshop is called. There's, Bumping Baby, baby clothes. And I have nephews. And there's a lot of other babies in my life that I at least know. So there's that, and then there's a couple places there's a bar that an Irish pub type place where my parents like to go sometimes late at night. I'm not big into that kind of stuff, but it's kind of nice ambiance, and I'm 28 years old, so I'm old enough to drink alcohol if I want to. And then before you get to the village, the library is there. So really either I go to the library, the roast office, or there's the little area behind the library that's a huge field, and that's where a lot of the outdoor activities take place. And then there's sometimes, the clothes sometimes aren't, you know, they're pricey, but sometimes the clothes aren't always as mature for me. You know, sorry, I'm getting off on a tangent here. But anyway, back to this top 5 one. Okay, so I discovered this series and I read this really quickly. I enjoyed it. I don't know how long it was before I finally bought Court of Mist and Fury, but I admit, even though I bought it right away, I did not read it right away. I read that back in April. Yeah, April. Because I finished it right before A Court of Rings and Ruin came out. On May 2nd. And then the next day, and my grandma was visiting, so my mom and her were going to go run some errands in the next city over. The next town over, not city, it's not a city. So I was like, can I go, you guys, so you can drop me off at Books A Million? Of course, the only problem with this Books A Million is it's small. So there's really you only go in there just to walk around. You know, I mean, you might linger, but you can't really sit down. I mean, there's a bench in the back where the magazines and kids' books are. But that's it. I mean, it's not even leaned against a wall. It's in the middle of the aisle between the magazines and a bunch of, you know, middle grade kids' books. So you can't really enjoy it. The only thing you can do is walk around and pick out a book and just pay for it. I did apply to that Books A Million, but I never got it. It was I felt really weird because I ran into the manager. I mean, because obviously she's interacted with me a few times, and she asked how it was going, and I told her that I got a job at Harris Teeter, and she congratulated me, and part of me was thinking, yeah, they hired me at Harris Teeter. You didn't. Why? I want to know why. So, but, you know, and I also, I mean, but it's business, and I just didn't have the qualifications. And maybe it's probably for the best, because I probably would not. It could have potentially ruined the appeal of going to Books A Million and buying a book. And I was very nervous about working at a bookstore. Of course, I was also nervous about working at Harris Teeter when I finally got a job. But you know what? It's better this way. I mean, I am still a tiny bit bitter. Like I said, when I saw her, I was thinking, why didn't you hire me? Okay, they hired me at Harris Teeter. I was good enough for them, but why was I not good enough for you? What was I missing? But, I mean, it was probably partly because I didn't have, like, a lot of experience. But, anyway. And then the next book I have here is the other book in her series, which she was, like, Sarah J. Maas was the first author that I fell in love with while I was part of the Booktube community. I mean, well, not just part of it, but when I was watching it, and then I became part of it. And then, of course, is Throne of Glass. I do wonder, after Throne of Glass is done, and after she's finished with these books, the ACOTAR series, I wonder what she's going to do next. Is she going to write another major series, or is she going to do a different genre altogether, or is she going to, or is she going to be one of those authors that rides the wave of the series, these one particular, like Cassandra Clare is kind of sticking with the Shadowhunter world. And the same, and Stephanie Meyer is kind of sticking with the Twilight world a little bit, or she did linger in that world for a while. And the same with, and I understand, if it's a successful series, then yeah, I understand. It's safe, you're making a lot of money, so why not continue? And if you're having fun with it, then, but at the same time, it's like, why don't you try something different? So, I wonder if she's going to do something different, And that is, but anyway, number 2, the second book I've read because of Booktube is Throne of Glass. This was an awesome first book. I'm a little apprehensive. I finally started reading Queen of Shadows, but I'm a little apprehensive about it because I'm still a Kale fan. I'm still Team Kale, and I know he's kind of, he does some stupid things that people are pissed off at, and I think it's partly might have to do with Dorian and him being in the collar, and Kale for some reason doesn't want to do anything because he does, or something. I don't know. And plus, it breaks my heart because I totally shipped Selena and Kale, and now they're not, and she is clearly, with spoiler alert, if you haven't read Air of Fire, she was mated with Rowan now. Obviously they haven't actually physically mated, but they formed a bond and everything. And I'm not a huge fan of Rowan. He's an okay guy and everything, but I'm still Team Kale. But either way, I've accepted that ship has sunk. I'm okay with it. I'll live with it. I just hate seeing her mad at Kale. I understand why she can't forgive him for what happened to her best friend at the time, Nehemia. I get that. And I'm happy that as of right now, in these first few chapters, she seems to still care about the guy, and she's not in love with him anymore, but she still cares about him, and he's still her friend. So he's still a part of her heart. He's just not the main. He doesn't hold her heart anymore. So, but I am very nervous about reading it. I just hope he's happy. And a lot of people, in Tower of Dawn, people seem to be happy. They seem to be happy with the result for Kale's story, because that's a step. Tower of Dawn is basically from Kale's perspective and about his experiences, because from what I've been told, he is not really in Empire of Storms. He might not be even in it at all. And I kind of got spoiled about what has happened to him. What is going on with him. What physically happens to him. I won't say anything, although most people have probably gotten to that point. So it probably wouldn't be a spoiler for most people, but I won't say anything because I'm really bad at spoiling things. I don't warn people ahead of time. But yes, Throne of Glass. People were talking about this. A lot of my favorite booktubers were talking about this series. And I was just kind of tired of hearing about it. I was tired of hearing about it, and I finally decided to read it, and I don't regret it as of right now. I am happy with what I'm reading, and I love how Sarah J. Maas writes. She's awesome. You still get the good, the awesomeness of, it's easier to read this than A Song of Ice and Fire. It still kind of has that same feel, but it also has the feel of the, for teenagers and young girls, and, can appreciate it more, because The Song of Ice and Fire series is just, it's a lot to take in, and a lot to read. So, both Sarah J. Maas books. Okay, so next, I guess I will talk about, I should probably make Six of Crows should be next, because that one I read before getting, The Darker Shade of Magic. So I'll talk about Six of Crows next. Number 3, Six of Crows. Sam from Thoughts on Tomes, one of my favorite booktubers. She's one of the ones that I feel like I have a lot in common with. What she's one of them, that I like. I trust her opinions on books. Reagan from sorry, I can't talk right now. Reagan from Peruse Projects. Cece from Problems of a Book Nerd. Words of a Reader. Leslie from Words of a Reader. Sasha, I do not remember what her channel name is. Katie Tastic. Jessie the Reader. These are all the book. These are a list of the booktubers that I trust their opinions, and I feel like they. Haley from Bookland. I have a lot of. It's just. It's a lot of people. I can't list everybody because I'm already rambling enough as it is. So Six of Crows. Sam from Lots and Tomes had talked, like I said, she was talking about this series constantly, especially the Grisha Trilogy. She loves that. Now, I'm not as into it as she is. And I personally find this better. I mean, I don't remember, she might also be a booktuber that finds this duology better than the Grisha Trilogy, but I'm not in love with the Grisha Trilogy. I like it, I enjoyed it. And I'm sure, though, if my mom heard me talking about it, my mom would probably tell me, if you're not as into it, then you should get rid of it. Then you should donate it to the used bookstore, the used bookstore is all donated books, and that's what I've been doing. I've been donating my books, the ones that I probably want to read again, but I just can't bring myself to get rid of the Grisha Trilogy. Yes, I'm not in love with the trilogy, but I feel like I can't just get rid of it. I mean, maybe I will be able to one day. But I love this series. I think it's so awesome. This duology, I keep saying it's a series, but it's not a series. It's a duology, because there's Six of Crows and Crooked Kingdom, which I still have not read. I was going to read it this month, but, I mean, I only have a week left, and I'm going to visit my sister, and I'm going to be surrounded by my 2 nephews, and, like, whenever we're at her house, I end up getting up really early, because he gets up early to go to daycare, or on the weekends he just gets up early, and if I hear them and my sister and my mom in the kitchen, taking care of the boys and everything, then I'm like, okay, I gotta get up. I don't want to miss out on this. I want to spend some time with those boys. So I end up getting up early, so I probably won't get around. I'm only really bringing, like 2 books, two books that are originally on my TBR from my own, because I'm also bringing 2 library books. I'm bringing It, which I'm reading, is the first book we're reading in the Big Books Book Club. I'm giving us like 3 months to read it because it's so long. It's like over 1,000 pages. But anyway. Okay, so let me, real quick, everyone probably knows about those Sarah J. Maas books, so let me I just watched a booktuber recently that said they didn't know people when she's a new booktuber, she kind of just joined and everything, I think. I don't remember her name. And she was saying how people do a bad job at describing this book, but because it's so popular, and because it looks interesting, the cover looks really cool, she decided to buy it and wants to read it. And but, first there's the fear of the hype, books that are really hyped and really popular. She a lot of people worry that it's going to let her down and everything. So I'm going to give a brief description of what this book is about. So it's a heist. It's like an Ocean's 11 type storyline. This guy, Kaz Brecker, he's a criminal. All these characters are criminals in some way or another. One of the characters is he's not actually an actual literal criminal, but he's done some, heinous things that got him in a sort of, if I remember, I want to say he was in some kind of facility or some kind of prison, he got thrown in prison or something. But most of them are criminals. They're con people and thieves and stuff like that. And Kaz leads these people because he's told that there is a special drug that was just created by this scientist that affects the Grisha, which are the people that have the magical powers in this universe. But it makes them extremely powerful, extremely dangerous, and deadly. But when you crash from the drug, it kills you. So Kaz and his team of outcasts and criminals, they must go to the prison where the scientist is being kept and take the scientist and destroy the drug. So that's basically what they're doing. That's their heist. And this was so cool. It was so different. First of all, the Grisha Trilogy in itself is really different. I mean, is really different from other YA, because it still has some of the tropes and everything, like the bad boy trope, the love triangle, the best friend and the girl, the one person fall in love with their best friend, the girl who's really shy and insecure and awkward, and then she turns out to be really powerful and a lot stronger than she thinks she is. The bitchy girl that gives her a hard time, but then ends up kind of being her ally against the evil guy, and the trope about the evil guy being really just someone who was misunderstood, and that he's not entirely as evil as he seems. All those tropes, but one of the unique things is that it's set in a Russian-inspired setting. And the Grisha powers are really unique and very interesting. Now, you can read this on your own, this duology. I feel like you could read it on your own, but if you want to understand the Grisha powers, then I recommend reading the Grisha Trilogy first. It's only 3 books. It's not like with Cassandra Clare's books where you have to read 12 other, 6 other books to get to, or however many books just to get to the next series. Because I know not everybody loves the Mortal Instruments. They think Infernal Devices is better, and then the more books she wrote, the more she got better and better. But I think you could potentially risk reading this series first. But the Grisha Trilogy explains the Grisha universe and introduces you to it, and it explains the powers and everything. So, and again, it's only 3 books. It's a trilogy, so it's not as bad. But this is awesome, but it is worth, even if you end up not liking the Grisha Trilogy, or you're like me and you're just you like it, but you're not oh my god, this is the best series ever. It's worth getting to Six Crows. And the sequel, Crooked Kingdom, I haven't read it, but it is basically it happens because something really big happens at the end of this book, and Crooked Kingdom is the aftermath of that, of the heist and what happens at the end of the book. Okay, so now I will do this one next. This is my 4th book, V. Schwab's A Darker Shade of Magic. So a lot of booktubers Bookables, what is her name? I'm drawing a blank here. Peruse Projects. I think those are the 2 that I hear the most talking about V. Schwab's work. There are probably other ones that I just can't think of them because there's a lot of booktubers I'm subscribed to, and there's a handful of them that I really do love, and then there's a handful, and then the rest of them are kind of ones that I really enjoy. They're not my favorites, but I still really enjoy watching them and have a good time, and love what they say and what they talk about and everything. But I have a long list that I can't remember. I can remember some of them, but their names. So, but they were talking about this, and actually Bookables was constantly, her favorite, I believe, is Vicious. I remember she was constantly talking about that one, and I finally got Vicious. It was one I ordered online. Well, my mom ordered it because I don't order when I get things online unless I'm using a gift card, like at Books A Million. I don't pay for my own products when I'm doing the online shopping. My mom usually does. So she's the one who bought me Vicious. But this is so cool. I think the magic is really awesome. You have these 4 Londons. You have Red London, which is magic is just an everyday thing. It's not a big deal. And then you have Grey London, where there's no magic at all. You have White London, where magic is kind of killing the world. And then you have Black London, which nobody talks about. It's a world that was practically consumed by magic, so they closed it off, essentially. And you have these people, Cal being the main character, is part of this group of people that can travel between the different Londons and, send messages and stuff. And that's basically what Cal does. He's the only one left. Well, there's 2 left. There's him, and then there's this guy, Holland, who mostly spends his time in White London because he has been bonded to the king and queen of White London. These two siblings, these twin siblings who rule London, who rule White London. And no, it's not like a Cersei and Jaime thing. I don't think, no. And it's, and he's under the power of these two siblings, Holland is. And Cal is, he drops some messages between the four Londons, and then he meets this girl, Lila, who is she's a pirate, she's an adventurer. She kind of gets mixed up with Cal when he discovers this black stone from Black London, and he's trying to transport it back, and she decides that she wants to be part of his little trip to returning this black stone to Black London. But unfortunately, there is the possibility that because she's not magical herself, she can't go with him. But somehow she's able to pass through the different portals into the other Londons and go with him, and it's their little adventure and him trying to resist the Black Stone because it starts calling to him, magic to magic kind of thing. But this is so awesome. I love this. I'm so grateful that Booktube introduced me. I mean, Booktube has introduced me to a lot of books. Even people like Words of a Reader have introduced me to a lot of classics. I knew about Jane Austen and stuff, of course, but there are some, I'm more inspired to read Steinbeck. I did read Of Mice and Men back in middle school, but I'm more intrigued and wanting to read it. I borrowed East of Eden from the library recently, which is going to take me forever to read. And then it's still on my Christmas list, though. I want to get that. Still want to have, that way I won't feel as rushed. I can take my time with it because it will be in my physical, it will be my property. But hopefully I will get that one and Donna Tartt's The Secret History done. And I'm going to bring those with me, like I said, when I go to visit my sister. So this is awesome. And I also have Vicious, and I recently bought A Gathering of Shadows, because when I'm reading a series, I have to get the next book in the series. Because I don't know how long it will be until I can get the next book in the series. So this is awesome. I'm so glad Booktube introduced me, and I'm so glad Booktube introduced me to the other four I just mentioned. And then the last one that I just finished, is The Raven Boys by Maggie Stiefvater. Now, I do not know if I will read her other series, but I just loved the first two books because I just finished Dream Thieves. I'm gonna wait. I have Blue Lily Blue in my possession, but I'm going to wait and reading that because I do not have The Raven King yet. It will be on my Christmas list. It might already be. I don't remember if I put it on there or not, but this first book, I love her writing style. This is just it's so beautiful and atmospheric and everything. And a lot of people are talking, a lot of booktubers constantly talked about this series. Even my friend Kathy, who is very particular, when I brought this book up on Facebook, because I'm on our Facebook group, The Book Corner, because I was kind of talking about YA, and I feel like there's a common misconception of YA, but then at the same time, it's hard for me to argue with the people that are so against the idea of reading YA and don't get the appeal of it, because it is kind of predictable, and a lot of booktubers are constantly reading YA, and it's not always the most, and it's really cliche and stuff, and it's just, so I brought up this series because I feel like this is a different kind of YA. I mean, even the romance itself isn't the main point of the plot, and I think the love triangle already has kind of been diminished. It's been blown out. The candle has been blown out because the female protagonist has told the other guy that she's just not, it won't be him. She feels horrible about it, but she just doesn't, she's finding herself not as into him. But the summary of this book makes it seem like the fact that she can't kiss her true love is the most important thing in the book, and it's not, really. I mean, it kind of is an interesting point, and it is part of it, but it's not the most important part. The most important part is Blue's relationship with these 4 Raven boys, and how she helps them in their quest to find this infamous Raven King who has been sleeping and dead for a long time, and they believe they've heard that if you wake him up, he will grant you one wish. So this is magical realism, essentially. And this is such a beautiful story, and I love her writing style. A lot of, like, booktubers, like, book nerds who, has talked about this series, and problems with a book nerd, problems of a book nerd, has talked about it, and, I know, like, it's her girlfriend's favorite series, and she now loves it. And there's a lot of other ones, like Bookables, I think. I don't know. It's hard for me to remember exactly which of the booktubers I watched talked about which series. I mean, some of them it stands out. Like, Sam from Thoughts on Tomes was for a while was all about, like, the Grisha verse and everything. But this book is totally awesome. So those are my 5 books that I read because of Booktube. I am so grateful for Booktube. It offers so much more variety of books to read. I don't know if I would have discovered all these series. I mean, granted, I always shop in the fantasy section, and all these books are fantasy related, so maybe I would. But I get so motivated and inspired to read more of these books and everything, and I mean, maybe I would have got lucky and discovered these series all on my own just by going to Books A Million and just walking around. But I take such a long time with series. And getting around to them. Like, I have to catch up with Cassandra Clare's books, because I am so behind. Like, I only read one story in the Bane Chronicles, and that's the last thing I read, was the first story in the Bane Chronicles. So I am so grateful to Booktube for introducing me to all these books, in all these series. These are all series, obviously. And Booktube to me is so awesome. I mean, if you're not in Booktube, like, a video you can just watch the Booktube videos. Just watch them and you can discover about so many series. Not just YA. I know there's a lot. Yes, a lot of Booktube is made up of YA readers. But first of all, there is some great YA reads. And there's a lot of booktubers that don't just talk about, like, Words of a Reader doesn't just talk about YA. There's a couple, Jean of Bookish Thoughts doesn't talk about YA that often. I'm trying to think of other people, but, there are a lot. There's one booktuber I really like. See, there are so many booktubers that I watch and I subscribe to that I don't remember all their names. It's just too many. But yeah, so that was my Top 5 Wednesday. I hope you guys enjoyed, and like I said, this is a Goodreads group, so if you're interested in doing it, even if you're not even if you're not a member of the Goodreads group, but you just want to do it. I mean, even before I started making videos, I was doing this on Facebook. I mean, not the, actually, I don't know if I did the Top 5 Wednesday, but I know I was doing, like, the book tags on my Facebook group, the Book Corner, like, asking people the questions and stuff, because they're so interesting. That's one of my favorite things on here. I know that sometimes some of them get repetitive with their answers, but, I mean, they're still fun to watch the book tags, and I love doing these Top 5 Wednesdays when I can do the topic, because the last topics I couldn't really do. So I will post the link to the Goodreads group, and, okay, so, yeah, I'll just post the link to the Goodreads group, and if you guys, like, are watching this and you want the accounts of the booktubers, like Ginger Beats Laney and Sam from Thoughts on Tomes, please let me know, Sorry, I'm kind of being lazy about it. I've just mostly put the Booktube group, the Goodreads group. So, like for topics and ideas and stuff like that. So, I hope you enjoy that and weren't entirely bored with my ramblings.